Happy Thursday, everybody.
I'm here.
I convinced Nikki to be a part of this again with me. She's a little more reluctant than I am to get in front of the camera sometimes, but I'm happy to have her here and talking about shells today, right?
Yep. Shell builds.
Why you gotta be so awkward?
I'm just an awkward person.
Hey, so yeah, we're going to talk about shell builds. We're going to talk about some of the benefits, as well as some of the things that, if you're considering, building a shell, some of the things that you should think about, and maybe kind of factor into the whole idea. So Nikki's got some points here that we're going to go through and discuss about shells. So for some of you that may not know, a shell is basically a tiny home build that's brought to a certain stage, and then a homeowner takes it over and is able to kind of DIY some of the rest of the build. So that's what we're referring to when we're talking about a shell build.
I'm glad you touched on that. That's where I was going. So I guess we can jump right in. Maybe talk about some of the benefits of a shell build. So what would you say a benefit is?
Yeah, so I would say one of the cool things about the tiny home space and as a whole is that when it started, there was a lot of DIY possibilities, right? A lot of people got enamored by the idea of going tiny and being able to build it themselves, right? Since tiny homes have kind of evolved and become a little bit more complicated and larger and a lot more kind of features involved in the systems themselves, some of that DIY process is sometimes out of reach for some people, but one of the best benefits of it is you get to put your hands on the project, you get to be a part of the project building your home, and financially it can be a benefit as well. You can save some money by going DIY and building part of the build yourself. One of the things that I'll talk about with that saving money kind of concept is we've talked to a couple of our customers who have gone the DIY route where we built a shell for them, and something that they didn't necessarily factor in or didn't factor in enough for was the amount of time that it took them to build the shell, to finish out the shell. And you have to think about how much time can you put into the build while potentially probably working a full-time job Monday through Friday, only having either evenings and weekends to work on it, and how long are you going to be able to do that before you get completely burned out? So that time of availability to work on the home can be limited at times unless you're lucky enough to be able to work on it full time, right? So factoring in that what's the word I'm looking for, that amount of money, right? So not only does that time kind of cost money ultimately, where you could be potentially paying somebody to do that, but also the time where you're paying for a roof over your head currently, so you've got rent or mortgage payment, or you're paying for wherever you're living now while you're also still building a tiny home and putting money into that. So definitely some factors to kind of think about if you are thinking about going down the DIY kind of shell build option.
I think a benefit too is you have a builder or professional doing like the heavy lifting for you. And I think I post that all the time when I'm posting about shell builds, like let us do the heavy lifting. So yeah, we're really taking over like the hard construction and like the learning curve, and then you're picking up where you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and that's a great point. The learning curve is huge. We have people that have been working with us and craftsmen and ourselves in the residential building world for many, many years, but building a tiny home is really different. There's a lot of different factors that kind of take into consideration. Our electricians, our plumbers, all had a crazy learning curve in trying to get the supplies and all of their utilities where they needed it in such a compact kind of space. So the benefit of some of our shell stages is that our team that's already learned those learning curves tackles those for you and gets them out of the way. So great point.
Thank you. And I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but there are some cons to shell builds, like maybe finding the space to finish the build and not having all the tools that you may need, whereas a builder does have the space, the warehouse, and the tools that you need.
Yeah.
So it's just a point that I kind of wanted to throw out there.
Another great point, like we have people that ask us, hey, do you know of a location where I can park and build it? We've had people ask if they could finish the build in our parking lot. So a lot of storage locations really aren't set up for you to have something parked there as well as work on it, right? Because you have to have room and storage for the materials that you're working with. So all of those things need to be taken into consideration, and another really good point. So
thank you.
And I don't see it written down there, so that's good. It's off the top of your head.
One thing I did want to talk about is like our tiny home shell stages. I think that's a good thing to talk about here.
Yeah. We decided early on to kind of come up with some stages that we felt a DIYer might be looking for, and kind of our suggestions on those stages, right? Being a complete custom builder, we can ultimately take the house to wherever you want us to. We can kind of budget and price it out and take it to a specific point that's outside of the 3 stages that we're going to talk about today. But the 3 stages are easy for us to just kind of shoot quotes out and numbers to customers that are looking for potential DIY shell options. So stage 1, that's where we kind of start. I would say stage 1 is really for that person who either has a lot of construction capabilities, a lot of construction background, is very familiar with building, and or has a family member or very close friend who has that capability, right? Somebody who isn't trying to watch YouTube on how to build a house, right? Like they have a lot of that information within their own repertoire, or a very close friend that's willing to donate a lot of time, right? I'm going to let Nikki kind of tell you what's in stage 1, but I'm going to tell you that every stage includes our design process. So we sit down and go through and design your home first. Again, we don't treat the stage any different than our turnkey builds. Everything has to start with a design so that we know what we're going to do with the shell, and you'll also know how to finish it with those design plans. You'll get full construction plans, you get access to the plans, everything, so that you know how to finish the build and have all the measurements and different things like that. So stage 1, what does that include?
So as Mike mentioned, it would come with that custom set of plans, then it would come with that tiny home trailer, so a purpose-built tiny home trailer to that set of plans. And then we would spray foam the belly of the trailer, R21, I believe.
Yeah, R21.
And then we would deck the trailer for you. Steel framing, unless you wanted to work with wood. I know that steel framing is a huge learning curve for most people, as well as some people don't have the tools to work with steel framing. So we do work with wood framing for shell builds. And then we would zip board the exterior, so exterior sheeting. So that's basically our stage 1, as well as you would have the finished plans to finish the build.
Yeah, and I'll touch base on one thing that's Nikki mentioned in there on the steel and wood framing. The tools are definitely something that we have. You could purchase the tool, whether or not it's something that you wanted to invest in or not, but definitely something to think about as far as what you were going to use for your interior wall finishes, how that stuff's going to be applied. Wood frame, we talked a lot last week about the pros and cons of the weight differences. But one of the biggest pros is you can go to your local big box store, Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can get all of the tools and style of things that can work with wood. So definitely something to think about in that stage, in the shell stage also.
Stage 2, it's our most recommended stage because we're finishing all the hard stuff for you. It's the same as stage 1, so all the stage 1 stuff comes with it, and then in addition to that, you would include your windows and your door, and then we would also add that full mini split install, and then all your plumbing and electrical would be roughed in as well.
Yeah, and that's why that's the main reason why we recommend stage 2 the most, is because the plumbing, electrical, and AC, those 3 stages that are somewhat difficult to get a local contractor or even try to, if you don't have the construction knowledge, to try to tackle yourself, to get done correctly, right? So our trades, our craftsmen have already figured those out, that learning curve. They know exactly how they're going to do it within the process. So that stage 2 is definitely where our recommended kind of start for a shell is. And at that point, when all of those things are roughed in, you can easily then get a local electrician or a local plumber to kind of take it from there, because it all makes sense and everything's in the proper place. It would look and appear just like a regular new construction addition or home that you might find that they would be used to working with. We have had we've had people reach out to us, some DIYers. We've even had people that have started their build and ended up calling us to try to finish their build for them. But the biggest thing that they had issues with was getting contractors, plumbing, electrical, kinds of HVAC contractors out to work on their stuff, because it's so different. It's a one-off, and they're sometimes not even sure how to bid it properly, or they're going to bid it super high, and you're going to pay quite a bit of money for them to learn the learning curve on your build. So definitely something to think about. Again, that's definitely why we suggest stage 2.
And then our stage 3, or final stage, everything that comes in stage 1 and 2, I would say this would be for someone who's set on doing a DIY home but really doesn't have that much experience and is really relying on YouTube. The only difference is their electrical system is 90% complete. Their panel, plugs, switches are all in place, and temporary lighting is in place as well, and then all their exterior finishes are complete. So that's stage 3. And we do have examples of these on our website, and we'll be posting this video to YouTube later on today, and we'll have all of this for you.
Yeah. The benefit of stage 3 is the outside is 100% wrapped up. All your exterior finishes, your siding, whatever you choose as far as products for the exterior is done. Your metal roof is on. So basically you have a fully weatherproof unit that can be worked on, and mainly just have to do the interior kinds of projects. So again, like Nikki said, that's definitely a stage for somebody who maybe doesn't have the construction background, has a little bit of knowledge of how to do things, and wants to tackle those items. And again, each one of these stages, you have to take into that time consideration of how much longer is it going to take you to finish. Stage 3 is definitely one where you've only got to do really the interior finishes, paint the interior, put your cabinets in, your flooring, your tile, bathroom finishes, that kind of stuff. So there's definitely a process that could be a lot quicker there for when you take that over. And we've also done, again, kind of reverting back to what I said in the beginning, as a custom builder, we can take the shell build to really kind of any stage that the customer kind of wants. So the Cox build was an example that's on our custom build page. That one we took through interior finishes were done, cabinets were installed, and the customer was really going to finish the flooring, the countertops, install all their appliances.
And paint the walls, I believe.
Yeah, and I think paint the walls because we just did a prime white. So that house was taken really 85% completion, and then they were going to finish it off. So again, we have a couple of different options there for customers.
Is a stage 3 house one that you could live in and build in as well, or is that not recommended?
No, it's not complete yet, right? So the outside is complete, so it's waterproof, weatherproof, all that kind of stuff, but it's not livable yet. We wouldn't recommend living in it because
the bathroom's not complete.
The bathroom's not complete. You don't have your interior wall finishes up. Your electric's not 100% complete. So little things like that would still have to be done.
The last point we wanted to touch on, and we get this question quite a bit, is financing for shells. I have 2 points. So financing for shells. Do we have financing for shells like our traditional financing?
Yeah, so currently one of the banks that we work with, Liberty Bank out of Utah, they are only currently offering financing for turnkey builds. So they do not currently offer financing for shells. It is something supposedly that they are kind of chatting about. I don't know what stage shell they would allow, but it is something that they're chatting about. We have had some success with some of our customers getting loans through Lightstream for shell builds, and the benefit of Lightstream is it's a online based kind of application. There's some others out there like FeeEasy and SoFi and things like that, where it's basically a personal loan. If you've got pretty good credit and your debt to income isn't out of whack or anything like that, those kinds of personal loans can work really well for a shell build because they're not collateralized by a finished livable unit, right? Like the Liberty units, they consider the home as their collateral, and they want to make sure that the home is built and certified and all that other stuff to a certain stage. So,
and you touched on this, certified. Like, how do you certify a DIY build or a shell build?
So, we are certified through Pacific West Associates as a RV manufacturer, a custom RV manufacturer. So there is a little bit of difference between the certification and the inspection, right? So a DIY, I would highly suggest getting, and we offer this as well in our shell stages, starting the process with one of the inspection companies that will give you a certificate that says that your home was inspected to specific regulations, right? So there's 2 companies out there that we would recommend, Buildsworth and Noah. Both of those companies have a kind of DIY setup where they can help you with inspections along the way and ensure that you can have your home built to a proper standard. And some places are going to require that, right? If you're a DIY builder and you're traveling, some locations, some RV parks, some state parks are going to require, maybe even some tiny home communities are going to require some sort of proof that the home was built to a specific standard. So, and those are requirements typically by the park's insurance, right? So the park sometimes has specific insurance requirements where it says, hey, all the units here have to be built to this standard. Pacific West was doing a DIY program at one time. I'd have to check.
They just commented and said they do.
They do? All right. So Pacific West has still got their DIY program in place. So that's a great thing for us because we can start the process with them and then hand it over, and the DIYer can kind of finish it out, and then they have that same certification at the end that we do for our turnkey builds. So before this call, I meant to reach out to Alex. I apologize for not reaching out before, but Pacific West having that capability as well, and us already being certified by Pacific West, they can roll into for a DIY shell build super easy.
Final last question, unless we have questions online. We get this so often. What is the price of a shell?
Yeah. So we specifically don't have prices on our shells, mainly because all of our pricing is varied by size of unit, right? So and we build everything from 20 feet, 24 feet, all the way into 40 feet as far as ranges, and then you've got width ranges and goosenecks, and so there's so many factors that kind of play into it. What we ask is for you to reach out to us on our Contact Us page, kind of look at our shell page on our website, and kind of have an idea of what stage shell that you would be comfortable doing. Shoot us an email and we can reply back. As long as we know the length and the width that you're looking for, we can pretty much shoot you some pricing fairly
Rough
quickly.
estimate,
Yeah. So all great points. Again, DIY, there's some great kind of things out there. Personally, I would, if I wasn't a tiny home builder, I would have probably tackled a DIY build myself. So I understand the need and the want to do it. So just some things to factor in when you are looking at it, and you're going to definitely want to factor in that overall time that it's going to take you. You're paying for your monthly rent. If it's going to take you 4 to 5 months longer, you have to factor that into, okay, well, how would it be more cost effective to have a builder finish this out for me, right? So a lot of things to kind of take into consideration.
Any questions for us?
We're good on this end.
All right.
Perfect. So we got this one done in just under 30 minutes. We look forward to next week. I'm sure Nikki will come up with a great topic for us to chat about, and hopefully she doesn't mind getting in front of the camera and feeding off of each other for these. Nikki's going to go ahead and post this on our Instagram TV as well as our YouTube channel. Definitely check out our YouTube. We are putting all of these on there, so you can always go back and check out some additional videos. I will also say that Nikki just recently added all of our build walkthroughs that we have on YouTube to our website. So like if you were to go to a specific build, like the latest one, the cat house that just left, there is a video walkthrough that our photographer and videographer Justin did for us. So each one of those that we have, they're now also linked on our website, so you can go to each one of them and kind of get an idea of the space. So good things coming, and we're excited to do another sit down with a builder next week. Have a great weekend, guys.